So guys, Billy Joe Saunders isn't very happy at all. Billy Joe Saunders has felt like he's been betrayed a little bit. He feels like that his end of the contract hasn't been fulfilled. He's basically said that he expected there to be a British judge, a Mexican judge, and an American judge. And now they're talking about there's not going to be a British judge because of the fact that the situation, the COVID situations. Billy Joe also mentioned that, he took less money because there was going to be no fans, but now there's going to be 70,000 fans. But Billy Joe also stated that, it's not about the money. It's about him wanting to win, and he wants an even playing field, And Canelo's a cash cow. He's the guy that controls everything. And I did say in videos before that Canelo will obviously dictate what goes on. But guys like Billy Joe, they speak out and they want, like Tyson Fury's the same. When he was at Klitschko, obviously Klitschko was the powerhouse and he was the guy that calling the shots. But Tyson Fury didn't let Klitschko have his own way. Do you see what I mean? Whereas other opponents would just go there and wouldn't really care. But Tyson Fury is the type of guy, they speak out because they want an even playing field, which is rightfully so. Because it should be an even playing field. Sports should be an even playing field. The better man should win. And that's how it should be. And Billy Joe Saunders feels like, again, now he's going into a fight where, the contract from his side was agreed and he did everything from his side. But however, they've not done everything from their side. Now, I don't know whether he was having a go at Canelo, Hearn. I don't know who he was having a go at. But he's just not happy with the fact that, that there's not going to be a British judge. Because surely there could be a British judge that flies over from the UK for that particular fight. But why would, if there's 70,000 fans, surely you could get one British judge to come over for that particular fight. I don't quite understand why that would be any restrictions to that. Maybe there's restrictions on, travel. I don't know. I don't know the exact ins and outs. But, it is what it is. Billy Joe knew before he went there, he was going to be up against it, right? He knew before going to the US to fight Canelo, he's going to be up against it. And it is what it is. I do agree with him. It should be an even playing field and the better man should get their hand raised. But at the end of the day, I think Billy Joe's just going to have to bite the bullet and go in there. And I don't think he should pay too much. Listen, I think him mentioning it now is probably the right thing to do because, like he said, wants an even playing field. It may even get him to get the British judge this way. By him going out and giving an interview, he may put pressure on them to actually get the British judge out there. I never really understand why powerhouses like a Floyd or Canelo would do that. Anyway, they're really good anyway. They're favorites in a fight. I don't know why they want to control everything because, to be honest with you, for me, they've got they most likely have the better skills. They're great fighters. There's no need. It just diminishes you a little bit by doing stuff like that. I just think that you should have an even playing field. And just give the guy what he wants. Because like that, there's no excuses after the fight. There's no excuses after the fight. Oh, well, the judges want the thing. Especially if the fight's close, it gives other people opportunity to talk. And it affects your greatness, really, because in the future, people will say, oh, well, he controlled everything. He controlled the judges, the ring size, everything. He used to control everything. He dictate everything. Whereas back in the day, fighters used to fight. They didn't do, even the guys that were the cash cows, like a Sugar Ray Leonard or, Mike Tyson. They didn't really make a fuss about these type of things. Whereas nowadays fighters, it seems like they really, the ones that are in the power positions, the ones that are the cash cows, they really, splits, the officiating, all of that, they just want everything to be on their terms. I don't really quite understand it. It should just be an even playing field. And listen, I feel for Saunders. He's up against it, but I just think he's got to let it go. And I think he's got to, maybe he mentioned it in interviews is probably the right thing to get attention. But I think he needs to let it go and probably just concentrate on the fighting because it's going to be what it's going to be. He can't control what the judges do. He can't control what anyone does. Simple as that. He can't control. He can only control things that are in his control. That's the way he fights inside that ring. That's the way he's prepared going into that fight, which I'm pretty sure he's on top of and he's prepared the best he can prepare. He most likely is, but I don't think he can control any of that because that's going to be what it is. Right? That's going to be what it is. It's going to be what it is with every Canelo opponent. I know he's worried, and I know he's mentioned these things in the past. But it is what it is. I just think he's going to have to go in there and put in a performance of a lifetime. Listen, he's going to have to go in there. He's going to have to go in there and put in a performance like he did against David Lemieux. He's going to have to outclass Canelo. He's going to have to box his head off. He's going to have to make it look one-sided. Right? When you feel like you're at a disadvantage, you have to go into a fight thinking, you know what, I'm 3 rounds down. I've got to win every round in this fight, and I've got to win it conclusively. That's how his mindset is going to be. That's how he should be preparing. He's got to be on his game, fast, nimble, looking to box Canelo, not get hit. He needs to have that kind of mindset. He needs to prepare like that. Because anything less than a dominating performance, he's most likely not going to win. Right? I'll be very surprised if Billy Joe wins a close split decision. Very surprised. The only way he's going to win is if he dominates, which I don't think against Canelo he's going to be able to do, but that's just my opinion, But if he can, he wins the fight. If he can put in a David Lemieux type performance, right? And we have to point out that Canelo's not David Lemieux, but if he can put in that type of performance, then who knows? Who knows? He's up against it. Without question, he's up against it. But he knew that going there to the United States, and he knew, regardless who the judges are going to be, he's going to be up against it. He's going to be up against it. And not just the fact that he's up against it because Canelo's such a great fighter, but all of those other things as well. I don't think he's going to get to the judges. Personally, I predicted that I think Canelo will stop Billy Joe. But I can understand if Billy Joe does make it to 12, then, if it's not a dominating performance by Canelo, then the judges are obviously going to be important because, I hope there is no controversy. I hope for Billy Joe's sake, this is a fight which determines to a lot of British fans where Billy Joe stands, how good he is. That's why it's so intriguing. Why do you think this fight's so intriguing and so many people are intrigued? Because we don't know how good Billy Joe Saunders is. Because of the level of competition that he's been fighting, we just don't know where he's at. We don't know whether he's a elite fighter. Well, obviously, we can say he's world class. He's won a world title at 2 different weight classes. Even though I think the opponents like Andy Lee and Shifat Asufi weren't exactly stellar. But nevertheless, he's definitely world class. It's just whether he can take that giant leap, against someone like Canelo, who's an all-time great, who's an elite fighter, who's an exceptional talent. In my opinion, the best fighter in the world right now. It's whether he can take that jump, that leap to greatness. It's going to be difficult. Of course it is, but it's supposed to be difficult. He's up against it, not just up against it because Canelo's so good. He's up against it because of all the how powerful Canelo is in terms of, how big he is to the sport. So obviously he's going to have a lot of advantages on his side. But Billy Joe knows this. And every fighter that fights Canelo knows this. So you have to go in there and dominate. If you can't go in there and dominate, then it's going to be difficult for you. But I don't think Billy Joe should worry about the officiating and worry about all of that. Yeah, fair enough, it's good he's talking about it and he's mentioned it. But I don't think it's something that he should dwell on because it's, like I said to you guys, that I think it's out of his control. I don't think it's something he can control. There's no point of dwelling on it because he can't control what's going to happen with the judges. Even if there's a British judge, no matter who the judges are, it could go, it may be exactly the same thing. So I think neutral judges are something that should be in place for every big fight. I think that, you shouldn't have judges from one particular country. Listen, with the situation and the pandemic going on, it's not great. And now recently, in cricket, they've been not having neutral judges, home judges because of home umpires because of the fact that COVID and that didn't work out too good. A lot of the people were complaining about the umpires and how they were being biased, especially with the recent India-England tour. So I do think that, neutral judges are definitely important. But again, we've seen poor decisions here in the UK. And someone pointed this out to me, that why is it that that, you know, a lot of the UK fighters coming over always talking about the judges when the judging here is very poor. And it's true. It's not like the judging here is great. We've had really poor decisions as well, you know. So these poor decisions are everywhere. It's not just in America or Germany, or these happen in the UK now as well. I think the reason why people mention it with, especially because they feel that Canelo gets, I don't personally think so. I think the first Golovkin fight had Canelo losing. I thought he beat Lara, and some people mentioned Trout. I thought he beat Trout, and I thought he won the second Golovkin fight. So I think people make too much out of it, and a reason why people make too much out of it, because Canelo is the star and everybody know he's the power, he's the cash cow in boxing. A lot of people, when a fight's close, they always try to go with the underdog and say, oh, the underdog, Canelo got beat. Oh, he got beat by Trout, he got beat by Lara. Whenever the fight's close. Whenever the fight's close, the underdog, like John Ryder and Callum Smith, even though I thought John Ryder might have nicked that, but it's like, oh, robbery, because the guy that was the favorite had a close fight, and all of a sudden people just say the underdog won, you know, and that's not true. Like the Lara Canelo fight was very close. I had a fan say that he felt Lara won 10 rounds in that fight. Like, listen, you couldn't have been watching the right fight then, because that was a very close fight. You can't shout robbery when it's a very close fight. The Lara Canelo fight was a very close fight. That was no way a robbery. The Trout got beat in that fight as far as I'm concerned. I don't know why people would think Trout beat Canelo. I felt Canelo clearly won that. Golovkin first fight, yeah, I thought Golovkin won the first fight. The second fight, I thought Canelo won that one. So as far as I'm concerned, I think that people make too much out of it just because of the fact that Canelo is who he is and he's the cash cow, he's the biggest star in the sport. I think people like to make too much out of it, like Canelo gets favorite treatment. And listen, it may be true partly, but I don't think some of the fights that people like to mention is all overly true, because I do think that Canelo won some of those fights that people try to make out he didn't. So I just think that obviously when you're a star like Canelo, people are always gonna look to pick holes and say, oh yeah, he gets favored. But I don't really look at it and think, you know, he does. I think Canelo is a star. I think he's a great fighter, and I think most of the fights that he's won on merit, you know. He's won on merit. Just because a fight's close doesn't mean that he's been favored. Now, of course, generally in boxing, the politically more connected fighter seems to get the decisions, and that's natural because they bring more to the table. They're the bigger star. But in certain times, that's not always been the case. You know, it's not always been the case. I remember when Amir Khan went and fought Lamont Peterson. Amir Khan was a way bigger star than Lamont Peterson, and they were building him out to be a star. Amir Khan went to Lamont Peterson's backyard, and Amir Khan, most people felt he won the fight, and Lamont Peterson ended up getting the decision. So sometimes, you know, there are cases. Usually the politically connected fighter gets the close decisions. But again, they're close decisions, right? You can't tell me that Lara schooled Canelo or Trout, come on. And people go on about that Mayweather, you know, that draw that Canelo got. Mayweather won by majority. That was ridiculous, by the way. You know, Mayweather won that clearly. But at the end of the day, Mayweather won the fight. So irrespective of what that one judge that saw it a draw is irrelevant, because Mayweather got the decision. Mayweather ended up getting the decision. So that's, for me, what really matters at the end of the day. But leave your thoughts, guys. What do you guys make of Billy Joe Saunders talking about the judges? Do you think this is an issue? Do you think this is not really much of an issue? And do you think it's just that Billy Joe should just get on with it and look to go out there and put a dominant performance against Canelo and look to beat him comfortably? Because it seems like that's what he's going to have to do, is to get a close. Listen, when it's close against Canelo, you're not going to get most likely not going to get the close decisions, right? It's going to be very interesting to see if the fight is close, what Eddie Hearn's reaction is. I think a lot of people kind of already saying that Eddie Hearn's a Canelo fanboy and stuff. I obviously, listen, when you're working with such a big star like that, you're going to be a fanboy. When he's achieved so much and he's the biggest star in the sport, and he knows how much he can benefit from having Canelo on his team. See, now Eddie Hearn has become the biggest promoter in the world by having Canelo and AJ. He's got the two biggest stars in his stable. He's got a huge stable of fighters. So, of course, he's going to want the biggest star to be happy with him. He's going to want him on his side, of course, because now that power shift is gone. Whoever Canelo was going to go to, whether Canelo would go to PBC, whether Canelo would go to ESPN, they were going to be in a powerful position because Canelo is, in my opinion, the biggest star in the sport. So whoever Canelo was going to decide to choose was going to become... And the fact that Eddie Hearn's already got a huge star in AJ, right? Him getting Canelo as well has put him on another level. You know, he has two of the biggest stars in the sport now. He promotes them. And I think this is going to be a long-term thing with Canelo because I think Canelo's really enjoying his working relationship with Hearn. So... leave your thoughts, guys. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. I'd love to get back to you. Join my Facebook group. Join my Instagram page. Join all of my pages. Join my Facebook group. My Facebook page as well is very important. All of you join my Facebook page, Imran Mir TV. And I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.